Rustin, I'd like to hear your take on this situation. Then Tyler, I'd like to hear your take on the situation. And after you give your take, I'd like for you to walk us through, because Tyler worked in the communications office specifically for the football team, but in the communications office for what, 3 years?
Yeah.
Yep. So I would love to know from your perspective what was most likely happening Friday night as all this stuff starts coming out in the communications office. Who was working overtime that night, and then
Bill Martin.
yeah, exactly. And then give us what was going through their minds. How do they approach this? I'm going to give Josh Heupel a lot of credit. I'll say this will be my one part of it. Josh Heupel handled that post-game presser, which, let's be real, and I told Rustin this Friday, that's orange and white game. After that game was over, that should have been one of the most relaxed, fun post-game press conferences for Josh Heupel of the whole year, because you just get to talk about what your guys did that day. It'll be a lot of fun, a lot of easy going. And all of this stuff with Nico totally stole that away from the entire team. And I hated that for them. But Coach Heupel, to his credit, said that he complimented Nico, said that he's worked his tail off for the school, ever since he got there, and he thanked him for his time there. Kudos to you, Josh Heupel. We know you watch, Josh. We know, Coach, you're watching. So we appreciate you. Audrey said Heupel looked like he's about to cry in that press conference. Yeah. JL said Heupel was very classy. Yeah. So Rustin, I'm going to put a star by their last comment, so I know where to start back. What's your take on the situation?
So me and East Tennessee Pollen are not friends, so I'm going to try not to hack a lung up as I go through this. But first of all, kudos to Ryan Roberts at A to Z Sports. He released an article today that was absolutely excellent. He had done a ton of research. He had connected all the dots. He laid out, I would bet, almost the exact scenario of everything that went down. Especially piecing together some things that I've learned from people near the program. So this is not, first of all, somebody asked, was this a surprise to the coaches? No, they've been dealing with this since December. This was, and we've jokingly said in the past that it's only a matter of time before somebody gets to the playoffs and's like, hey, you want me to play Saturday? I'm going to need a new NIL deal by Friday. It's only a matter of time before that happens. And that was, I'm not saying that's what happened here, but it was similar type conversations. He got you to the playoffs. We need a new deal. Nico is 20 years old. By all accounts and by all reconciliations, Tennessee has paid Nico anywhere from somewhere between $3 and $4 million since he became a Vol. If you had given me $3 million when I was 20 years old, I would be an absolute lunatic. So let's not hate on a kid who has weirdly come into an insane amount of money for any 20-year-old to have to try to figure out. Now, let's add the next layer.
But he is a legal adult. I'm going to throw that out there too. He can fight in the military for our country.
Yeah, but how many 20-year-olds do you know that would manage $3 million well, and the pressure that comes with $3 million?
None. But somebody else made a good point. They said that he redshirted his first year, so he got $2 million for being a backup, which is a pretty sweet gig too.
Now, we need to add the other variable into this, which really complicates things and is where the real problem lies. In the Polynesian culture, the father is the patriarch of the family. Whatever he says goes. Everybody falls in line. There is no discussion. He is 100%
paterfamilias.
Yes, he is 100% in charge at all times. So when you have a son who is making $3 million, who's reporting to a father who is the patriarch of the family, and whatever he says goes, no matter how much it may go against that son's instincts of what he thinks is right in the situation. In the Polynesian culture, he is always going to revert to whatever his father says. His father is going to be 100% right all the time. So in December, it leaked out that his father had already contacted USC, Notre Dame, UCLA, and Oregon. That's not hearsay. That is proven, documented, true. And that's what prompted Dan Lanning, and kudos to him, that's what prompted Dan Lanning to contact Josh Heupel and say, hey, your boy's dad's out here shopping him around. You need to know. Okay. Which is why Notre Dame and USC were so quick to say that they were not interested, because they knew that that dad had contacted them and they did not want to be investigated for tampering. So they very quickly said they weren't interested. Now, the one that's interesting is UCLA was also contacted. They have not come out and made a statement, which tells me they're willing to roll the dice, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he ends up at UCLA. So, you know, that's a whole nother fiasco in and of itself. That dad was actively shopping him and putting that kid in a horrible position. Fast forward to now. You know, they had all kinds of negotiations. Tennessee said, we're not budging. This is what he's getting. You know, they were trying to talk about, okay, can we get more money for offensive linemen? You know, there was all these different things happening. And they tried to shore that up. They went out and got 2 linemen in the portal that they think are going to help them. And, you know, that was their way of trying to come alongside and meet him in the middle. A week ago, Nico apparently came to the coaches and said, I may be entering the portal. My dad wants to look around. I don't think Nico wanted to do that, because Thursday night he was at a dinner with Joey Halsley and other quarterbacks in a position group dinner, and never once mentioned, oh, by the way, I'm not showing up to practice in the morning and I'm going in the portal. 20-year-old kids who don't want to change and don't want to leave don't show up to team events with their buddies and not talk about the fact that they're considering leaving. That doesn't happen. So that tells me that he went to that thing. He probably got an earful from his dad that night when he got back to the dorm or wherever, hotel, wherever. And, you know, the next morning he no-shows. Now, where this gets worse is as the team is trying to contact him, they're going radio silent. They're not responding to anything. And again, that's probably his dad telling him, don't respond. Again, putting the kid in a horrible position. But again, Polynesian culture, he's going to do whatever his father tells him to do. And that's how we got here. Kudos to Josh Heupel. I have not been able to corroborate this yet, but I have heard that there were older players on the roster who went to Josh Heupel Friday and said, get rid of him. We're done. We're over it. So apparently the negotiations had been spilling onto them and they were done with it. They were sick of it. I loved seeing Miles Kitselman at the spring game and after the spring game being so incredibly vocal about who they are as a team and what they're going to do and how they're going to rally around Merck and Mac, and, you know, that they got what they need right here and they're happy and ready to move forward. I also loved that Josh Heupel allowed the defensive captains to lead the team on the vol walk. That was not coincidental. He was absolutely sending a message. You know, so I like the makeup mentally of this team. I like how they're responding. I loved what I saw out of George McIntyre. Before we talk about the spring game, I just want to give my annual disclaimer. The spring game does not matter and it is not real. Okay. Don't put any stock in it. Dayton Sneed has for the last 2 years, Dayton Sneed has been the best player on the roster in the spring game.
And we just lost him in the transfer portal, dadgummit.
Right. That's the only reason why he didn't dominate this spring game, because 2 days before he went in the portal. So,
but the new tight end's the second coming of Jason Witten, though.
Yeah. Well, I will say, the one thing I think you can take away from from the spring game, Van Slayer is a good-looking prospect. It's probably not going to be a big deal this year, but a year from now, 2 years from now, that kid's going to be a player.
Yeah, you got Miles Kitselman and Ethan Davis right now. Give him a year or two, then you'll see him.
So that all said, I think Josh Heupel did exactly what he should have done. I think he handled it as well as any human being could have handled it.
Agreed.
I think the players have done a fantastic job responding as well. And I don't blame the kid in the slightest. He is doing what his father is telling him to do. And in their culture, that's the end all and be all. Unfortunately, his father doesn't understand how to handle this situation, and he is making his son's life miserable.
Tyler, what do you think?
Man, yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. I think they're meaning his camp's actions and maybe negotiation tactics are very short-sighted. I think they were anticipating Josh Heupel and staff to just kind of bluff and say, "Okay, well, fine, we'll give it to you." Probably because they know that they have it, right?
Exactly.
And John, and kudos to him, he didn't back down at all. In fact, he said it before. He was like, "My mind was made up when he didn't show up to practice on Friday morning. Like it was done. Like it wouldn't have mattered what they did." But from his perspective, his family is hurting him, not just in college, but they're hurting his credibility with NFL agents, GMs. As soon as Friday morning happened, there were NFL GMs, I promise you, saying, "Hey, I don't think I want to deal with that." And then now, which I think a couple of people mentioned it in the comments, but he's going to have 4 months to go somewhere else to learn a new playbook and attempt to recoup what Tennessee was already going to give him.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, I think it almost has to become, I'd say a lateral move, but I think it at best it becomes a lateral move for him, unfortunately. And again, I don't think he's a bad kid. I'm not going to defame anybody on here, but I do wonder if the parents' actions and the age or his dad's friends' actions are a little bit short-sighted. So he potentially, when he could have just, I mean, he was going to be done here anyway at the end of the season. So he stays this year, he gets his 2.5 or 2.7 or whatever he was making, and then he goes to the NFL and gets his 20. Okay, well, he's in a heck of a lot better spot than he is right now.
Absolutely.
Because now he seemingly doesn't have a firm plan, and now he's scrapping for. I mean, I say scrapping, he'll be fine, but like he's not gonna have that $4 million that his dad was after. So yeah, I mean, I think Russ hit the nail on the head as far as fault, if you want to assign fault, but I mean, I really do think they're hurting him long term as well, and not just short term.
I think both of y'all made fantastic points. Tyler, I totally agree with you. This isn't hurting him just for this season. This was going to be his money year. Like you said, like this was his draft year. And now every single NFL owner and GM is like, no, thank you. This undoubtedly hurt his draft stock. If he would have had a good enough year to be drafted anyway. Because I think we could probably all agree if he had another year like he did last year, he would not have been drafted out of this class. So if he had played well enough to get drafted, well, this certainly just dropped him in the draft at bare minimum, because people aren't going to want to deal with this. They want to deal with the adult, not the adult's dad. That's the bottom line. And so it's a shame, because the people who are surrounding him right now are negatively impacting his career. Now, Tyler, I would like for you to give us a little insight into what would the scramble mode would have been like in the communications office Friday night and Saturday. What do you think was going on in there?
Well, one thing I do know is that Tennessee has one of the best departments in this area for a reason, obviously. Tennessee's had a couple storylines over the years that made national news.
Just a couple.
We've gotten a little practice. Shiano Sunday happened. I still remember where I was. I was working a women's basketball game at Thompson Bowling, and I had to go straight over to the athletics complex afterwards. It just kind of things happen in the order that they happen. Given that it's such a high profile player, you have to think about every trace of Nico. So you're thinking pictures on the wall, you're thinking game notes. I mean, the orange and white game is the next day, so you've already printed 1,000 copies for the media to read, and they all have number 8 in the roster. So they're going on to Photoshop or whatever program they want to use, and they're having to delete number 8 out of everything, which they did. And there's been a kind of a meme going on of a hallway in Neyland, I think leading up to the Wolf Kaplan Center, of an empty quadrant of a picture frame. Well, that's where Nico's picture was. So I mean, if you can
The
just
last 4
imagine,
quarterbacks were on it.
yeah. So, since I was there, they've renamed it from athletic communications to strategic communications. Rightfully so, because everything they do now, it has to be strategic. I mean, in this ever-changing world where literally something like this could happen in 12 hours, and you're 12 hours away from a public event where 45,000 people are going to be in the stadium. And, so you have to think quickly, and then you have to think about the PR side. So what is our brand's perspective? So what do we want Tennessee to be known for after this is all said and done? Josh Heupel is my number one priority. So Bill Martin is likely with Josh Heupel saying, hey, here's how we want to go about this. Josh is free to say whatever he wants, obviously, because Butch said whatever he wanted. So, I mean, the coaches really has the freedom to say what they want. We will guide them because we kind of are trained in this way to guide them into what we want to happen. But literally, my jaw was dropped at the end of Josh Heupel's press conference because it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, phenomenal. I told my wife, I was like, that was outstanding. I mean, literally, you could see Bill's face in the corner. He was smiling all ears because Josh hit it out of the park. He thanked him with, I mean, of course, Josh could have rightfully said, "Hey," and just ripped him. And it would have been, "Hey, man, we don't support people that don't show up to pride," blah blah blah. But he didn't. He honored him in a simple, short way. And quite frankly, the rest of the press conference wasn't about him. It was about the players that stayed. And he was like, "Well, we've got what we've got, and we're going to find a quarterback that's going to go win. Where we've got 105 guys that are willing to, I think he said, give their all for Tennessee that are playing right now." And that's, I mean, for Tennessee as a PR standpoint, that's all you could ask for is for your head coach to win the fans over, which honestly, I think he won rival fan bases over. Like there were Alabama, Florida,
right.
Georgia, Kentucky fans saying, "Wow, Josh Heupel did the correct thing. Go Tennessee." And so from a PR standpoint, they knocked it out of the park. So I mean, very different from what we were doing with Shiano Sunday when a whole bunch of stuff was happening in the background that we frankly didn't know about, but we now know about. But like this is in a different era, in a different time where information obviously gets out lightning fast. I mean, the only thing you can do is protect the brand, and honestly, an underrated part of their PR stuff this weekend was the Vol Network broadcast. Nobody, if you didn't hear it, I encourage you to go listen to it. Mike Keith, Swain Hubbs, and Ramon Foster did almost as good of a job as Josh Heupel did as representing the program while identifying the problem, because it is the NIL world now. So you have to address stuff like this. It's not like Nico just never existed. He did exist, and he left yesterday, and he's on a plane back to California. But hey, we're here where there's 45,000 people in the stands. The Pride's still playing Rocky Top. Everything that's still going on is normal. We have to move on. And the broadcast was, again, outstanding. So everybody that was in my communication department that I worked in did an outstanding job, truthfully. And I don't know if that could have gone any better on the backside for Tennessee than it did.
100% agree.
Yeah, listening to Mike Keith and Ramon Foster and Swain and Hubbs do that horrible spring practice that needs to just go away forever.
Yes.
listening to them made like it already determined for me this fall I will not have any sound on games. Like I'm
I
gonna
literally
watch
told my
every
wife, I was
game.
like, we are listening to the Vol Network every
Yes,
single day.
it is.
Yeah.
It is so amazing how well they do and how much
Yeah.
chemistry they have already.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, I was sitting there listening to that the whole time thinking, where has this been? Like, why did it take us so long to get this?
No.
They were amazing.